Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Carrie and Danny. And I cannot believe this. When Carrie said a couple of episodes back now, let's have a look at what everybody's talking about on this post and barely Adventism to do with the relief people feel when they leave the church. I was like, okay. I had no idea there was going to be so much interesting stuff in it and so many varied opinions. And I cannot believe I'm here again saying, Carrie, have you got some more comments? What on earth are people actually
I
saying?
I I knew you'd have something to say. Let me pull up this one here.
This is incredible, some of these.
Uh-huh. Okay. Brian says, Adventism is for training people to be special forces for God. Of course, some would feel relieved because they prefer to join the less grueling part of the fight. Jan replies, less grueling part of the fight? Tell that to the great people of faith who led the civil rights movement in this country, or the Roman Catholic priests who died in concentration camps in Germany and Poland because they advocated for the Jews, or Dorothy Day or Mother Teresa. SDAs sometimes believe they are the only faithful people doing important work. I hope you aren't one of them. Brian then replies, we haven't reached the greatest trouble on earth yet. Those who have prepared for the trouble from different denominations will need to go through similar training based on what Adventism meant to be. So apparently, we're all supposed to be the Navy SEALs and Green Berets. I don't know what you call them in New Zealand and Australia, but anyway.
Ah,
Did you leave because you were tired of being the elite of the special forces, Danny?
uh, no. Ah, this guy's for real, isn't he? He actually means this, doesn't he?
I assume so. Yeah. I.
Okay, I've got nothing to say. Here's why. My sweetheart, who was one of the wisest people I know, started telling me, oh my goodness, it'd be 20 years ago now. And I can remember he kept saying, we're having a discussion, and he kept saying to me, Danny, don't be defensive. And I'm like, I'm not being defensive. He goes, yes, you are. Like, I'm not. And he said, yes, you are. And I came to the conclusion, it probably took me 2 years later, I came back and I said to him, I get it now. It wasn't that I was being defensive in that one conversation, but my whole life was being lived as a defense. And he went, yes, that's it.
Yep.
Um, and that was, sorry, when he talks about this special forces for God thing, it was trained into me, not from the trauma. I mean, it was trained into me, one from the trauma of real life.
Mm-hmm.
And also it was trained into me at church. And I'll never forget when my sweetheart looked at me and he said, what are you trying to defend yourself against? And I said, but, if I just want them to understand. And he said, dear,
Mm.
there's no defense against another person's stupidity. So, with that in mind, next comment.
Yes, ma'am. Uh, this gal says, let them leave. We wait for the soon coming king. Okay.
I see the love of God looking for the one lost lamb all through
I
that
feel
comment.
so I feel so warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
This one it says instead we rush to explain it away. They wanted an easy. This is their saying what the
Yeah.
explanations have. What
Oh, hang on a
they
second,
wanted.
Carrie. For anyone that's just tuned in, I forgot to tell you all. Um, a couple of episodes back now, and it was so fascinating. We've kept going on the internet. There was on the 23rd of December in a group called Barely Adventism,
Hmm.
and then on an actual Adventist newsletter,
Yep,
which used to
Adventist
be a
today.
paper one at Adventist Today, but it's now a digital article. So an Adventist run program
Hmm.
at newsletter. They posted an article which they'd found from the internet, and we're reading through that article and all the comments. And
Yep,
the article was saying, why is it that so many people express that they feel relief when they leave the church?
yep,
And it talked about why we don't want to look at the data. Relief is information, relief is data. And these are all the people commenting and doing what the article said.
yep,
Trying, well,
and
some are saying, I had that experience. And these are a lot of these are
yep,
people saying, this is why they felt relief because they
mhm,
were just sinners that didn't have the staying power. Let them go.
side question. And I know, and I will say, nobody has asked me personally why I left that church. I was an Adventist for 45 years.
And a pastor's wife, not just a
No
general
Adventist.
Adventist.
I will say the non-Adventist friends that we have now made, those who go to church, have asked why did we leave, but nobody who is
Yeah.
still an active member have asked us. I've reached out and said, why did you leave? I think assumptions were made. Did anybody ever ask you, Danny?
No,
No.
no,
I think they're scared to find out. They don't want to know.
no, no, I don't think they're scared to find out. I mean, I might have thought that, but now that we're doing this set of, now that you're, since we started looking at all this stuff and reading all these stories from all these other people, um, and looking at the comments for and against the article and everyone's opinions, I know now why they never asked me why I left. Gary, I know why nobody asked you. Why is it you left the church, Gary? Even though you were a pastor's wife, you're an Adventist for over 40 years, you were a pastor's wife, you were super active in ministry, you went to lots of different churches, you were really well known, and you said just now, no one ever asked you why you left. And if you'd said this to me last week, I'd have been like, wow, that's terrible. Why didn't they ask? But after reading all the comments on this, on this article, after reviewing this article in the comments, I know why they've never asked you, Kerry. They didn't need to ask you. They knew.
Yeah.
They knew why you left because the church already told them.
Yeah.
In the last days, people that don't have the faith and fortitude and that aren't part of, like that last guy said, the elite SAS for God, they will be shaken out and you might as well forget about those losers. No one's asked you because they've been told
Yeah.
why everyone's going to leave, so they don't need to be curious.
Right.
And I keep hearing my friend Lisa's voice in my head that says, certainty. Everybody wants certainty.
Yep.
People look for certainty, and some churches give certainty, and certainty is where faith goes to die. But I heard it different this time. And what I see is that certainty is where curiosity goes to die. Certainty is where questions go to die. So no one's been curious. I had questions about why you left because they were already certain, because the certainty was ingrained into them as
Because
part of the church.
Adventism has certainty to it. And I will say I don't have as much certainty as I used to. And it's actually kind of refreshing.
Yeah, but sorry, I just, having only just realized it now, I'm still excited about the thought that it takes away. It's so sad.
Mm-hmm.
No one has asked you why you left because the certainty of why people leave was already trained into them. I don't want anyone listening to miss that. If you're listening to this, I want you to think about it. Are you curious? Do you ask questions? Or has certainty taken your questions and your curiosity away? When was the last time you had a question? Like a big question about something? Or do you not have questions because you know the whole story of the great controversy and what's happening?
Well, if you had questions, I remember as a kid, you look in at a Bible verse, you're like, what does this mean? And you don't know. You go, we had a full set of the SDA commentaries. We just pulled that out. Took care of the questions right there. No questions.
What we got next?
So here, we rushed to explain it away. They wanted easier path. They were deceived. They didn't want truth badly enough. These explanations are comforting because they protect the system. They allow us to dismiss the feeling without examining its source. They were keeping God's law for the wrong reason. Not one of us will ever receive the seal of God while our characters have one spot or stain. It is left with us to remedy the defects in our characters to cleanse the soul of every defilement. That's Testimonies, Volume 5, page 214. Those who accept the Savior, however sincere their conversion, should never be taught to say or feel that they are saved. Which is, I mean, I think she wrote that more of to say what the mentality of Adventists. I don't think that's my understanding is that's not how she currently believes. We are set free by his works on our behalf. We are set free to do the works he has planned for us, but those good works do not set us free or keep us free. I would agree with that. So only our works, not his works, set us free. So this, so back and forth. Let's move on. It's up to you. This is, I think, more sarcasm. It's up to you. Work hard because your salvation is in your hands. Because that's what Ellen White taught. Salvation by
Yeah.
works. If you don't believe me, take a look at the global member survey. Around 75% of Adventists said they could not go to heaven if they did not keep the 10 commandments perfectly. Your salvation is up to you. Your works will set you free.
Carrie, I mentioned my friend Lisa before. I'm going to bring her up again. And it's easier to call her by name than to say friend and leave it a random thing. And it was about 3 years ago now, and we're having one of our book club meetings. There's only five of us in it, really small, very deep conversation. And I was horrified. There'd been a shooting somewhere near one of the people in our group in America, and something had come up. And I'll never forget the first time my friend Lisa said, she looks at it and she goes, I'm not worried. What are they going to do? Threaten me with heaven? And I thought, whoa, I'm terrified of some of these things. I mean, I can't die yet. I don't know if I'm going to heaven or not. I mean, seriously, I mean, I don't want to be shot. I don't want to be this. I don't want to be that. And here she is running around going, I'm not scared. What are they going to do? Threaten me with heaven? And it was just, it
And,
was too much for my brain at the time to
and
comprehend
I
that
love
somebody
I,
could walk with such confidence.
I love that attitude because that's such an antidote to the persecution complex that Adventism tends to have, how you're so scared at the end times.
Yeah.
What's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to die and get to see Jesus sooner? Regardless
Yeah.
of when you believe that's going to happen, whether you're going to be in the grave until he comes. Honestly, I'm not clear about that anymore, but does it really matter? I honestly don't think so. Um, what are they going to do?
No.
Threaten me with heaven, right? Yeah.
All that mattered to me was the confidence that she was walking through the world with. It was just, I was so inspired.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. Okay, here Kevin said, of course he is, but you're describing salvation by works with some added invisible works to establish unseen evidence to document our worthiness and per your testimonies, quote, to never feel blessed with the assurance of salvation. I mean, I was taught that, or it was implied that, you should always, we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
Um, Debbie said down, she clearly says it's up to us to cleanse our souls from sin that we can receive the seal of God. I would call that blasphemy against the Holy Spirit. Yes. Is
Mm.
Jesus able? Okay, let me see. I don't remember what the next one. This is just kind of keeps going on that same.
Yeah.
Um, is that the last one? That might be the last one.
No.
I know.
Oh, how much time have we got left? Because I did have a quick look at that thread and I saw something else.
Oh yeah, we've got about 20 minutes. I
Okay,
mean,
cool. So I had a quick look in one of the breaks at the thread, and because I know you didn't look at it for a couple of days, you said I had a quick look, and somebody had mentioned in regards to all of this, um Plato's cave.
yes.
So I had a quick nosy. I've never heard of Plato's cave before. Plato is the famous philosopher. I've never heard of his cave before. And because I only got to see a tiny one paragraph summary of that, I probably won't tell it perfectly. So for anyone listening, if you know the whole story, sorry if I ruin it.
This is Cliff
But this
Notes
is,
by Danny.
yep,
It's your
short
Danny
version of the
paraphrase.
short version. So what I read was it said this. So I read a thing that said the basis of Plato's cave is that there was three people in the red and white version I read. There were three people. There might have been more in the original, all living in a cave in darkness. So they're living in this cave. It's their whole world. That's all they know is the cave, and they have a fire, and the light of the fire lets shadows of the outside world be. They can see the outside world by the shadows on the wall of the cave, the shadows created by the light from their little fire. And so life just goes on really happy. They're perfectly happy in their little cave until one guy decides he wants to go and see what's out there. So off he goes into the outside world and he has these amazing experiences. Don't know what they are because I haven't read the whole story. But so in the Cliff Notes version, he goes, eventually says, oh, I wonder if I should go back and tell my friends about the cave, what's out here. Should I go back to the cave? And he thinks, oh, well, it might not be a good experience for them. Just because it was a good experience for me doesn't mean it'll be a good experience for them. But then he decides to go back anyway. So he goes back to tell them, and his eyes have adjusted to the light. So to me, the symbolism of this from a religious thing was like, whoa. So his eyes have adjusted to the light. So when he goes back into the darkness of the cave, he can't see because his eyes have adjusted to the bright light. And so he goes into the cave and he goes to tell his friends the story. But what happens is that all they see is that their friend has come back blind.
Mm.
And they can't see past his blindness to hear anything about what he's got to say about the whole big world that exists outside of their tiny cave.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and because I only read that today, I haven't finished thinking about it and figuring out exactly what it means to me. But the fact that somebody put it under, as part of the ongoing conversation and the 200 and however many comments that were going on about this, I thought was significant.
Mm-hmm.
And it gave me, I suppose, if you think of it as a therapeutic story, it gave me a context for why some people are so angry that the question's even being asked,
Yeah.
why some people are so angry and dogmatic in their comments,
Mm-hmm.
that someone's come along into their cave and said, hey, what about out here? And it just feels like a lot of the people commenting, that some of the comments you've read today and over the last couple of programs. It seems like people are just saying, you're blind, you're blind, you're blind,
Mm-hmm.
you're totally blind, you're blind in the darkness, you're blind. And they're not listening to anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all they can, yeah. So people
There's
are coming back saying there's so much more and they can't see past it. Go for it, speak. I'm still processing all of this.
there's a lot to process. I did bring out up that little article that you'd sent me, the religious trauma one, and I can read
Oh,
through. I think that would let me.
yes.
I'm so visual. I like stuff screen
But
shared.
bring up that
So
article. It's a fabulous one and it explains things really clearly and fits right in with the Plato's Cave story as well.
okay, let's
Because
let's
it's
see.
so easy to say you've been shaken out. I see the shake. I see
Right.
people going, you've just been shaken out, as them
Okay.
saying you're blind and not wanting to see the religious.
All right. You can see this now, right?
Oh, yeah, this is great,
Okay.
this one.
Religious trauma isn't all in your head, it's in your nervous system. Religious trauma is what happens when faith, authority, or God's voice becomes fused with fear, control, shame, or threat. Over time, your body learns that spiritual spaces are not safe. That's where the vagus nerves come in. The
Mm.
vagus nerve is the main communication highway between your brain and your body. It regulates safety, threat, connection, and survival. When religious environments repeatedly activate fear, punishment, silence, or spiritual abuse, the vagus nerve adapts. Your body stays on high alert or shuts down, even years after you left. That's why worship music can trigger panic, scripture can cause dissociation, church buildings can make your chest tighten. Authority figures can activate fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. This isn't rebellion. It isn't bitterness. It isn't losing your faith. It's a trauma conditioned nervous system responding exactly the way it was trained to survive. Religious trauma is not just a theological issue, it's a neurological and embedded injury. Healing doesn't start with trying harder to trust God. It starts with safety, consent, regulation, and restoring agency to the body. Your nervous system isn't broken. It learned what it had to learn, and it can heal.
And that just, when I read that, that's why I sent it to you when you did something about these posts. It's just, it is so true. There is so much scientific evidence that says that trauma is stored in your body. It's stored at a somatic and cellular level. It's stored in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a thought. It's why I've got friends that I know, people in osteopathy and in massage, that can have people spontaneously burst into tears on the table and the person won't even know why they're crying. It's not because they've gone, oh, you touched something that someone else touched that they weren't supposed to or something. It's because of how our body stores trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they are so right. And that is why, oh my goodness, it's why it's why you can't, You can't pray and faith people out of trauma.
Right. And I think um
It's got to start with safety, a safe place. And that's why I believe God's called us to be.
mhm,
Is, when he's talking about loving one another and all that stuff, that's starting. The Bible says, the new commandment I give unto you, love one another, treat people right, love
mhm,
everybody. And to do that is, I believe, is to build the beginnings of a community where that safe place exists, where people can change and regulate
mhm.
and heal. And then there's space.
Yeah, I think I've been personally fortunate enough that I don't feel like I have necessarily that deep-seated vagus nerve associated trauma, right? But I have had conversation with people who have.
Yeah.
I have a friend that I took out to dinner several months ago. I need to reach back out to her again. And she's just really has had some deep-seated trauma from previous abuse, religious abuse, and all kinds of stuff that she just can't hardly make herself step into a church building. Like she's just scared to go to church
Yeah.
and any church. And I think there's so many people that have that, and to offer some kind of a safe place that's maybe not in a church building, a group that people can get together and try to heal. And I think part of that healing is to listen and to let people realize that they are believed. And instead of downplaying the trauma that they've been through and the immense hurt that they've been through, say, oh, just pray it away. It doesn't always work. There's so much stuff, deep-seated stuff that
Not sure if yeah, yeah. So did you freeze just then, or was it me?
um it could have been me, could have been you. I don't know. I saw you freeze just a little bit.
Okay, so as long as everyone was still hearing you, I think you're absolutely correct. I've got a friend that grew up in one of the Adventist boarding academies, and the things that she keeps telling me that were told to her are just horrendous, really. But they're only horrendous now. If I'd heard them 5 years ago, they would have been my normal.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't have understood. I've been like, what's the trauma about that? And I know that she can't go to church. She struggles to open her Bible.
Mhm.
Um, struggles to open her Bible. And when we've talked about it, she just simply says that I've been told my whole life that I can't trust myself.
Mm.
That's what they told me at Adventist Boarding Academy. That's what the church told me. You can't trust yourself. You can't trust your thoughts. You can't trust your feelings. The heart is evil above all else. You can only trust this, like the Bible and Ellen White. Um, it's all up here, and it's left her in a place it's going to take her a long time to get out of.
Oh, it's
Um,
so tragic. So many of the things that people have been put through
well, I even
in the
wonder
name
about
of
myself.
religion.
Yeah, well, I wonder about myself because I remember she was telling these stories, and I was thinking, oh wow, I'm so glad that I'm not really struggling with that. So glad I'm not struggling with that. That'd be really tough, is what I'm thinking. Didn't say it to her. But then it's been about 6 weeks now. And I keep thinking every Sunday, oh, I should just go down to the little local church. I know the church only has there's a little local church. It only has 25 members, maybe 30. I know half of them because I live in the community. Not Adventist church, just a little wee one that someone just built a building on their block and started themselves. I've been there before about 5 years ago. They went to some Friday night get-togethers to meet local community people. And for some reason, I just can't. I get up on Sunday morning and I think, I should go today. I know the people that are there. It'll be easy. They pop down to the local restaurant for lunch after church. I mean, it's beautiful. It's on a cliff overlooking the Southern Ocean. It's just
Hmm.
magical even. And I can't do it. I don't know why. I just get stuck. I just get stuck. Totally stuck. It doesn't even become the last couple of times a giant issue. I get up, I have my breakfast, I shower, I get dressed, and then I just can't. I just can't. It's like a million and one things turn up that have to be done suddenly, but I know don't have to be done. But it
Mhm.
doesn't feel like I'm not going because I can't get there because I'm stuck. It just feels like, oh, I'm busy today. But I
Right.
know that's not actually the case. Um, so yeah, so when we start reading again articles like that one on religious trauma, I think if I take some time to sit down in the quiet and think about it, that there's probably more of that in me than what I realize. And I know that you attend a Sunday church and you're really happy there, and I've heard you talk about it, and I've thought that'd be so great. I need to get along to our local one and see if it's like that. But so far, um, I can't get there. I just get stuck.
I think we were so brainwashed as Adventists to believe that um, Adventism was the only place that was true. And so if you decided that Adventism wasn't right for you for some reason, where do you go? And that's what I see posted so many places is like, so where do you go now?
Yeah.
Where do you go now? Well, just somewhere. But I think it's because Adventism is here in Adventist mind and everybody else is way down here. So if you can't manage to go to the best church, why should you go to any other church? Why should you compromise? And I think also we were told that everybody who's a Sunday keeper hates you. So when you go to church and you say, they say, "Oh, hey, Danny, great to see you. Where have you been? What church did you used to go to?" Or anything like that. I mean, you're like, I better not tell them I was an Adventist because then they're just gonna pitch me out on my ear because they're gonna want to kill me anyway in the end times.
Yeah, because your
And
nervous system,
the reality
even
is
if you're not thinking it consciously, it's in your nervous system at a
it's in
deeper
your nervous
level than what
system.
your consciousness is.
For sure. And when before we even officially dropped, I mean, we stopped attending at least a year or maybe two before we actually dropped our membership. We started a Bible study Wednesday nights through one of the large non-denominational mega churches, not the one that we're attending now. And my husband, he was nervous to even tell them that he had been an advent, a pastor, or we had been Seventh Day Adventists because he wasn't sure how they'd react. And they're just like, oh, okay, because it's normal in this area to kind of denomination hop or church hop. You
Yep.
may have grown up Methodist, but you're going to go to a Presbyterian or non-denominational or Baptist, wherever you find. So there's not that stigma attached to denomination that I think Adventism assumes is there.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's just
And it's one of those things you go when you're ready. I mean, you have your community, your book club and different things. And
they are like church. Seriously, I mean, the stuff we discuss is just yeah, I mean, the book club's just we call it book club, but it's just really to give it uh it just gives it a tiny bit of structure
mhm,
to
yeah,
things. But the books we're studying are generally religious and spiritual based.
sure.
But I think you're right about that. So when you were talking, I'd never thought about it till you said it, Carrie. And I don't know if you actually, I don't know if what I heard is what you meant to say. Okay.
Okay.
But I mean, I've seen so many people over the last year talk in all the different groups that I'm in saying, oh, well, now that I'm not an Adventist, where else can I go? So maybe I'll go back. And some have, some haven't, because where else do you go? That's terrible. If you're still running around saying, where else do you go? Then have you actually let go of the belief that there is only one place to go?
No.
And I've never thought, and maybe I'll ask somebody that next time. It's just, it just helps show. I know, I'm thinking about some of the people that have said that. I know if I said to them, the fact that you can't find somewhere else to go, the fact that you're saying, where else do I go now, means that you haven't let go of the belief that it was the only true place to go. They'd be horrified because in their head and in their minds, they have let go of that thought and they have, their picture of God is so much bigger. And they'd be horrified to think that that thought was reflecting that.
Mhm.
Because I know yeah, I know they'd be horrified to think it.
I think
But
it,
it does mean that when you put it like that together, it just shows how deeply insidious and strong rooted the beliefs are.
oh, 100%. And it took us, I mean, we were fortunate enough to find a church that had Saturday evening services. There was a couple of different churches that we attended on Saturday evening, and that helped us transition out. But we also
Uh,
live in a pretty densely populated area where I mean, there's, I don't know, 65 churches in this town. It's crazy.
Wow.
I mean,
Um,
it's
wow.
kind of the Bible Belt here in the Midwest. There's a lot of churches. There's a lot of small churches. There's big churches. We're close to Indianapolis, which is a metropolitan area. So that there's a lot of places. Not many meet on Saturdays, but we were able to find one, and that just kind of helped ease the transition a little bit. You know.
Wow. When you said to me, that's been in the last show we did, you said something about you read a comment and someone said, I'll just join a different Adventist church if you don't like it. Like that was the only problem. It wasn't doctrinal, it was just relational. And you said to me, oh, how many churches are there near you? And I never answered. But since you brought it up again, there's four, four Adventist churches that I could potentially attend. And they are all over an hour's drive away. There is nothing within an hour's drive, and that's an hour's drive at the max speed limit. I mean, this is oh, probably just over it. This is not, a little granny afternoon drive really slow. This is
Yeah.
driving.
I mean, within so not so the Adventist church that my husband used to pastor actually is 10 minutes away. Then there's one 25 minutes away, another one 45 minutes to an hour,
Wow.
mm,
Oh,
another one, you know. But
yeah.
within less than a mile, I think there's three churches of various denominations, a couple of Baptist
Um,
churches, a couple of non-denominationals, you know.
no, we don't have that many here. It's just, you know, when we came to this, where we're living wasn't our first choice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so I've always blamed it on COVID. We were looking at a much nicer property, 7 or 8 times more land. We're looking at a really decent site. We're looking at a lovely big property, and we looked at a couple and we'd made offers on them. And what happened was, of course, this is like 5 years back, and all the COVID stuff was happening, and people were desperate to get out of the city. And all of a sudden, when we were in a position where we could afford to buy, 50 or 60 acres, and all of a sudden there's a lockdown and everyone wants to get out of the city because they want to be locked up in the city. And so blocks that we were looking at, just the prices skyrocketed here in New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
Things went crazy. And so basically, January or February, we can afford 50 to 60 acres. March, we can barely afford to buy 3 acres. It was just ridiculous. Like things are crazy. So we ended up not buying exactly what we wanted. And I love being here. It's been amazing. And I can't imagine living anywhere else. But my thought was, if we hadn't moved here, I wonder now, talking to you, how different my life would have been. If we
Mm-hmm.
hadn't moved here and church wasn't an hour's drive away, if COVID hadn't turned up and there hadn't been a whole pile of lockdowns, um, I probably wouldn't have taken time out. I would have just kept attending.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how much would have changed. I'd like to think that God was working so hard to get my attention and show me the truth of who he really was, that I would have ended up exactly where I am now anyway. Because
Help, you froze. Well, I think COVID changed a lot of things for a lot of people. I know.
when I look back, I can see eyes to the bigger picture of who he is, and I haven't seen it. Um, so it's have not living close to a church, not being able to physically drive there every week, has left more time, I believe, for me to just read my Bible and look at things and walk in nature and say to God, show me who you really are. I just show me who you really are, as
I think
opposed to me being told who he really is.
right.
And the pictures didn't match.
And I think for me, COVID, the whole COVID thing and just how it was everything that sort of cracked the crust, I guess, or the veneer over Adventism exposed a lot of issues. And I think it changed
Mm.
church for many people where they got
Yeah.
out of the habit of going, not just Adventism and stuff. And I think it really gave us time away from the Adventist clutter to think a little
Yes.
bit more. And I think, we've got like 3 minutes left.
Yeah.
Um,
Wind
and
her up.
we'll button it up. Yep. And reading these comments on this post, just how those that have left or those who are on the fringe, those who are solidly in, how they view those that have left. I think it's um, eye-opening. It's sad, really, but I honestly probably thought similar things not that long ago. Um, I think we're all on our own journey, and hopefully we can be here to support each other and others that are having um, trouble finding their way now. And I think it's tough. I'm sure I know I haven't figured things out, and I don't think we ever will. And I think that's the beauty of not being in the certainty of Adventism, is there's always something new to learn. When you're an Adventist, it's all been taken care of for you. Brighter minds than I don't know if you've heard that phrase. I heard that phrase a ton.
Yeah.
Brighter minds than
Yep.
I have figured it out, so we'll let them
Yep.
tell us what to believe. So
Well, outside of that, I don't believe that God got to Ellen White and stopped talking to us. He was like, I've said everything I need to say now. She's got it all. I can be silent. I don't believe that. And I
I'm
don't
not
know
sure he
why I
was
never
talking to
had
her
that
anyway,
thought.
but that I digress on that.
Well, no, I don't believe that either. But for people that do believe it, the question still then becomes,
Yeah,
do you really think he got to that one person and said, I'm not going to talk to anybody anymore?
right.
I don't believe it.
Yeah,
Wow, this has been a big topic.
it's been
And
big.
you called it Adventist clutter, and I think of it like the religious fog. And I think the
Mm,
biggest blessing for me was when there was time and space for the religious fog to lift. Some people
yes.
call it abuse, you can call it whatever you want, but the religious fog lifted. And I got to see who Jesus actually was, and the picture was
Amen.
bigger. I'm just
I
so happy for that.
I think that concludes part 3. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll be back with another interesting topic, hopefully, here in a few days. There's 3 parts to this, and so we'll post them over the next few days or so. Take care. God bless, and we will chat with all of you. Have another conversation soon. Bye.